Alright guys, and welcome at last to the very first episode, or technically second, of the Aquatic Stage project series. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tackle this immediately. First things first is I'm sure a lot of you are probably wondering about the creation that you may submit to this adventure project. Now, I just want to get it out there. I've so far been downloading every single one of them I can find. There's been a lot of submissions, many more than I was expecting. We currently have 169, including some concept arts and a couple of various evolutions. All sorts of really cool variety. I absolutely love it, but a lot more than I expected. So, first of all, thank you very much. But also, second of all, like I did say in the previous video, I may not be able to add all of them. Please bear that in mind. I probably cannot add all of these. In fact, I definitely can't. It's well over the limits that the game allows. But I am going to try and add as much, diversity as I can. So again, thank you so much. If you are worried that your creature won't get involved, don't worry about that. You can always try to make some buildings of coral or reeds or such as well. I've been kind of lacking on that. But as far as creatures go, mate, we have a lot and it is amazing. So again, thank you very much. So in terms of the actual Aquatic Stage plan itself, so I had the planning video all done and dusted. You guys have seen that one already. Over the course of time, that video is actually about 4 or 5 months old, and over the course of time, I have been slowly working towards an actual list of acts. Now, I'm not going to go over it all now. You can always just pause and read it, but this is the general gist of what I had in mind. It may change over time because, after all, I need to figure out what is actually plausible, what actually feels right in the game, what feels smooth and such, because it is an adventure, but the adventure is going to try and mimic a stage. So I'm going to have to do a lot of tricks here and a lot of interesting things I've never done before. And bearing in mind, this is the first adventure I've made for about, I would say, 8-9 years. It's been a long time. So I'm gonna be rusty, hence why a lot of this may change over time, but at least we've got the general idea of it down. So, in terms of the actual, executing what we're doing here, in terms of the plan, so I think we're going to break this up into stages. That way the video format is, digestible as well. First stage will, of course, be let me think, rough environments. Want to have a general boundary set, have an idea as to where everything will go. After that, we will have probably just jump straight into the acts and objectives, or at least the basics. Again, that way, if we get these things in place as soon as possible, the last thing I want to do is really flesh out one environment, have it look beautiful and amazing, and then run out of complexity or something doesn't work. I feel like we're gonna have we'll have to polish it towards the end, have it look all nice and pretty towards the end. But for the start, make sure everything is together where it needs to be. So after getting the initial basics of the objectives down, I do think maybe fleshing out the environment a little bit more. That way, any environmental constraints, any jump jets or teleporters or caves, all that kind of stuff, we get the general overall environments fleshed out. That way the objectives, if they, if it's a move to or come over here or whatever, we can really nail that quickly. And then we need to actually polish the acts and objectives. That was probably going to be one of the hardest parts. That may require a lot of tricks. So in that scenario, I'm probably going to check out a lot of other adventures. The main adventure I want to check out in particular will have to be Motel of Melora. Or Melora, Motel of Melora by H.R. Matthew, which some of you may remember, I absolutely fell in love with his adventures before. And he has a really interesting currency system in place, using gates, and it's a very interesting logic-based system. And that is something I very much want to integrate into mine somehow, but I need to play his adventure first and figure out how he did it, how it feels for the player, and then dissect the adventure afterwards to figure out, how it actually works. Now that might all be in a different video separate from the series, but that's going to be the general plan as to what I'll be doing here. So after the acts and objectives are polished, I think... Actually, no, one moment. Fleshing out the environments... We still need to have an idea as to what ecosystem each environment will have. Now, not the polished ecosystem, but I still need to figure out the general vibe. So would that be before or after? I think that'll be after actually, yeah. So we're fleshing out the environment, and then we need to have a basic idea of the ecosystem slash theme in each environment. There we go, and then we'll polish the acts and objectives. Once we've done that, I think after that we can then actually fill out the ecosystems properly. So that one's going to be a really interesting part, because what I really want to do, actually before we do that, so I can't do that quite just yet, We will polish the active environment. I will then need to, because it's now other people's creations. I was originally planning it on all being mine. I'm very grateful it was others, but because of that, I then need to evaluate. This is probably going to be the hardest part here. Evaluate what creations or creatures I use, and then refine if needed. So that will include things like adding the invisible limb glitch to those who weren't able to figure it out or weren't able to execute it properly, so fix the animations. I may need to change stats around. There's a big thing I forgot, is balance. That's going to be a really huge deal, so I'm going to have to do all that. So again, you know, refining if needed, all that other kind of stuff. Maybe just change a couple of creatures so they look like maybe a little bit more plausible. Maybe the anatomy might be a little bit off. I say this without having looked at them yet, so I'm just thinking ahead of time. And then fill out the ecosystems, like fill it out fully. So that would be like the creature stage of polishing. So once we've filled out the ecosystem, we've got a general idea. One thing that I don't know if we can do, depends on the complexity, but it's going to be very, very high. What I would like to do is create evolutions of various creatures. Because one thing that I think would be really, really cool is just like in the creature stage, where as you explore, the creatures around you evolve. I do know of a way I could do that in the aquatic stage. Because we have such a high diversity of creatures, it might be too much to implement that, but I very much would like to try. I want to try and make it so that the creatures around us evolve as well. Now, going back a step again, just trying to remember all the various things I want to polish. Polish the acts and objectives. Then after that, I would then want to fill out descriptions, titles, win-lose criteria, etc. I might maybe do it off camera. It depends on what you guys really want to see. Like, do you want to see me like just basically do a huge English lesson? I'm not sure if that would be the most entertaining, but that would be another thing to think about. So let's see what we have so far in terms of finish. We polished the acts and objectives. We have filled out the descriptions and titles. We have the ecosystems as well. So then we still need to finish the environment and really polish it, and that means going to town on things like just like random rocks and shells, trees, coral, you know, all the different things, just the environment itself. That's gonna take some interest in doing. And effects, actually, all effects, sound effects, that'll definitely be final stages. Oh, and cutscenes. Oh no, that's going to be a hard thing to try. Cutscenes, alright then. So I don't know what cutscenes I can do, but if there is anything I can do, it's probably going to be quite later in. So after create evolutions of various creatures and filling out the ecosystems, we'll then have to somehow implement cutscenes. If you guys see my videos of H.R. Matthews and Dored's adventures, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. I've never done it before, but I understand the logic behind it. I just need to actually try it. I've never executed it before, but that's going to be a lot of fun if I actually manage to. So we got that. And then, of course, at the very, very end, we're going to have the final adventure polish. Now, that's going to be things like flora and fauna, pick up objects, consumables and power-ups. Yeah, I'll do that as well, actually. And power-ups. Visual effects. Sound effects. And I think... in fact, I'll do that at the very end as well, actually. Visual effects, sound effects. And just finishing touches. I think that right there is going to be the general gist of what we are doing. It looks like a lot. It's gonna be a lot. We're making an entire freaking stage. I don't know how long this is gonna take. Now, like I said earlier, that planning video I had available for about 4 or 5 months, and I'm only just finally starting it now because it's a daunting task. Don't get me wrong, guys. It's pretty daunting. But on the plus side, which I'm very, very relieved about, at least I'm not gonna have to make every single creation, because that would have been the hardest part. Well, hardest, definitely time consuming, probably quite hard actually. So that's the general gist of what we have. So, I've been on for about 10 minutes. I don't want the episodes to be too long, but I am going to get started on a rough environment, so that's not going to take too long. So, for those who don't know, by the way, Galactic Adventures is, you know, the big DLC on Spore. How do you access it? Quite simply up here. Just go into GA in the top left corner, and we're going to be creating a brand new adventure. Now, when it comes to our choice of planets, I'm going to be using the soft flats one down in the bottom right hand corner, as I believe that is the adventure planet with the least amount of sculpting involved, because some of the template adventure planets planet, if they already have like a lot of terraforming, a lot of sculpting and such, it actually does contribute to the baseline adventure complexity. That being said, speaking of complexity, I am using a complexity hack for this. Now, for those of you who may be concerned about mods and such, like I said in the, submit creations video, I'm going to be doing this with as little mods as possible because I do really want this adventure to be as openly available as it can be. I probably will be using Creepy and Cute DLC. Don't worry, it's really, really cheap during Steam sales, so I'll probably be using that. But otherwise, I'm going to avoid using mods, that way it can be shared. But, that being said, some mods are compatible, such as the complexity hack for adventures. Not for creatures, that doesn't work, but for adventures they actually do. Which is how creators like HR Matthew and the rest are able to have such incredibly detailed adventures. Now, not only that, but we've also had to think about our choice of captain. Now, that is something I've not thought about yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to have an open captain or a restricted one. I think for now, just for now, so we've got something to play with, something to test with, I will grab a Jowie. Just typical vanilla Jowie. I will end up using, some kind of like more fitting creature later on, but for the time being, we'll just grab like a vanilla one. But yes, I haven't decided if I'm going to make it locked or not, because on the one hand, having a locked captain means I can balance things and fine-tune things really well. But then on the other hand, having a locked captain isn't really that fun. I mean, there's nothing stopping players from creating their own underwater creatures, but at the same time, there's nothing stopping players from then just speedrunning it and doing it with overpowered captains. I guess it depends on the way we execute it. Depends on how I approach the objectives. So before we finish the episode off, let's get some bare basics of an environment set. Right now, all I'm going to be doing is setting boundaries. So first things first, no water. I'm going to switch to hazards for now. We're just going to leave the planet default. I think, yeah, that about works, to be honest. And do I want to be big? Do I want a big planet? Thinking. So, we're going to have a couple of different biomes. And I'm not sure what's going to be the best way to block them out. So, I think I'm going to play it really, really basic, alright? Can I get just like a wall? I want a wall or a pillar or something. Just a big old blank wide wall. There you go. I'll grab this one here. So, that is the size of our Jowie. I think I'm going to make the captain as small as possible. That way the world feels bigger. And the beginning biome is going to be called, or it's going to be, just the shallows. So the shallows will be like a bit of a beachy area. That'll probably be where it's the most colourful, and probably the most populated. That and the coral forest. Two different biomes. But I've got to think, how big do I want it? So let's just have this for now. So we're just going to have like a nice, very, very rough area, and then I can terraform it and sculpt it afterwards. And the shallows is going to be quite small. So that there could be the shallows. And what we could have for the shallows is... How would I do this? So it being the shallows would suggest that it's got like a bit of a beach thing going on, so there's land nearby. Now I probably will do that actually, but I would like to have some kind of environmental thing that suggests that the creature is like landlocked. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that just yet. Or perhaps the creature could be in a cove. Then maybe that could be the shallows, just a cove area. Right, so that could work. So again, just temporarily. These aren't going to be the final things, but like I said in our little plans and notes there, we're just going to have like a basic set of, boundaries and such available, so we can, fill it up more later on. See, by the way, guys, for those of you who are not familiar with Galactic Adventures, this is what you can do. Proper, like, planet sculpting, make your own stories and adventures. It is really, really good, and I would recommend it to a lot of people. Not to mention, modding opportunities. That's always a good thing. Right, so that looks really, really terrible, but it's a start. I mean, I can always just make it all smaller and, actually, I can always make the land a lot smoother later on. This is fine, though. This is fine temporarily. So we have our cove area. Let's go ahead and expand that. Now, this is going to go deeper into the coral forest. So again, just planning out here, just planning out. So it's going to be the coral forest area, and that is going to be an even larger. I think I'm going to avoid using the walls this time. I'm just going to carve in a big hole, essentially. Just for the time being, I'm just going to use these big circle ones. So I want to have it quite a bit deeper, quite a bit larger as well. Let's make it a bit more shallow, actually, like that. But now we're going to double dip it a little bit. And then what I can quite happily do is simply reduce the water level even further. So now we got a bit of the coral forest. Now, how big is that compared to the Jowie? That is quite massive, actually. Yeah, that is very, very large. So, okay, in terms of size and scale, we're on the right track here. Now, again, the coral forest will, just like the shallows, have like a bit of a border going on, but it's going to be significantly larger. And the border will most likely probably be made out of like actual trees and foliage, not just the land. I gotta say, it looks like it looks so terrible right now. But hey, in a couple of weeks or so, in a couple of episodes, we'll see how we got our humble, pathetic beginnings here. It's gonna look a lot better later on, I hope. Right, let's just double check. Oh yeah, that's a huge area to work with. That's absolutely massive area. Now, according to my notes over here, what happens after that? So, explore the new biome, coral forest. Collect skeletons, swim through the open ocean and into the depths. Now, that's just simply going to be a large open area. Now, I can't really do anything about that just yet. All I can really do is make a path. And then you explore the deep ocean, which I haven't decided how it's going to look yet. It could be like bioluminescent, it could be pitch black. I do want there to be like some hazardous areas, such as volcanic fissure, you know, I take some inspiration from Subnautica. I think that'd be quite interesting just to have as like a interesting feature. One thing I actually did mention, I mentioned this in my Spore 2 video actually, not in the original Aquatic Stage video, but in the Spore 2 video, how I thought it'd be a really cool idea. Since I'm realistically not going to make an underwater civilization, I thought it would be neat if there'd be a reason as to why creatures didn't leave the ocean. As to why creatures did leave the ocean. Like, perhaps it could be too volatile or too wild or whatever. So I actually would like there to be quite a hazardous area, such as the original meteor site. I think that'd be really cool. It gives like a bit of a purpose as to why you must leave. But that is all, of course, for a lot later on. So we've got the deep ocean. I think just the entirety of the map is going to be good enough for that, to be honest. So what I would actually like, now that I think about it, what I would like. Let's again make a bit of a path. This will simply just be to, you know, show the area. Right, upon second thought, I do believe I'm overthinking this, okay? So I did mention that I do not want to use teleporters. Now, that still stands, I don't want to use teleporters, but I am okay to doing a bit of an effect. So an idea that I'm going to have later on, alright, is when you're in the open ocean, the exploring is all big and scary and dark. I think a cooler way that the player then goes into the deep ocean is that they are dragged in by a current. Now, the way I can do that is by some effects. Having it probably be a bit dark, maybe have the character accidentally step on an invisible gate. So what you find is that if you step onto a gate, you're sliding. You can't actually, I can jump, but I can't actually move properly. So what I could do then is have some invisible gates placed somewhere along the path towards the ocean and have them all just kind of aim downwards as the character slowly slides into a big visual effect that could be a current, like some kind of, I can't remember, like a whirlpool, that's it, and then you teleport into the deep ocean so you get dragged down by the current. And that, I think, would then be a good excuse to move away from these two areas here and just just into an entirely new biome over here, and this will be the deep ocean. So I think that'll work quite nicely. And then in the deep ocean, I can then, you know, create more of the environment. So technically speaking, all I really have so far is these two areas, and then just the open ocean here, just whatever doesn't get used. It's a lot of rambling. It's gonna make sense later on, don't you worry. But the video has gone on for long enough now. We've done the planning. We've got an idea as to how to move forward. So I think I'm gonna cut it here, and we should hopefully have a lot more engaging stuff in the next video. Now, like I said, guys, this is gonna be like a bit of a documentary-esque kind of thing. We're gonna document how I do this. You know, Aquatic Stage, the making of kind of thing. So hopefully it's interesting. And as always, guys, if you've got any more ideas, like if you have any ideas, get any inspiration, let me know. Comment down below. Give me all your ideas, because again, I want it to be a big community thing. And you never know, you might think of something 10 times better than what I could think of, and I can implement that in. Right, that's going to be enough from me then. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're enjoying it. And of course, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It helps.